Your body could be working against you without you even knowing it. Why do you eat when you aren't hungry? Why are you exhausted during the day and wide awake at night? Why do your skin, your mood, or even your blood seem to react in strange ways? The problem isn't your discipline or your lifestyle. There is something older acting within you. And there is an even more unsettling detail that almost no one mentions. Stay tuned, and you will discover which part of your body is still living in the Stone Age. For a long time, it was believed that Neanderthals had completely disappeared, that they were a primitive species that was simply replaced by modern humans. But science has shown that this story isn't entirely true. When Homo sapiens left Africa and reached Europe and Asia, they didn't just fight to survive. They also interbred. That encounter left a mark that we still carry inside. Today, it is known that many people possess between 1 and 4% Neanderthal DNA. It's not a symbolic memory. It is active genetic information, working every day inside your body. That DNA was designed for a brutal world. A world of extreme cold, food scarcity, constant predators, and permanent danger. Neanderthals didn't need comfort or stability. They needed to react fast, store energy, endure pain, and survive at any cost. The problem is that this ancient program is still running in a modern body. It's as if Stone Age software were running inside an organism designed for a technological society. And when those two worlds collide, conflicts appear. Many of the things we consider personal failures today are not. They are not a lack of discipline, or mental weakness, or laziness. They are biological responses that once saved lives. But in today's world, they no longer fit. To understand why your body acts the way it does, you first have to accept this. A part of you doesn't live in the 21st century. It lives in a past where every decision could mean life or death. And from here, everything starts to make sense. One of the first conflicts between your body and modern life appears in the way you eat, sleep, and react physically. Many people feel hungry even when they don't need food. They eat at night, seeking sugar, fats, or energy-dense foods, even knowing they aren't good for them. This is not a lack of control. It is ancient programming. For Neanderthals, food was not constant. They could go days without eating. When food was available, the body had to store as much as possible. That logic remains active today, even if the refrigerator is full. The brain doesn't understand permanent abundance. It only recognizes the opportunity to survive. The same thing happens with skin. Rough skin, so-called goosebumps, or the excessive production of keratin are not random aesthetic defects. They are adaptations to extreme cold. They served as a natural barrier against hostile climates. The problem is that we now live in climate-controlled houses, not in the tundra. And then there is the sleep rhythm. Many people feel more alert at night. They find it hard to go to sleep early, but they activate when the world shuts down. For thousands of years, this trait was vital. Someone had to stay awake to watch for danger while the group rested. Today, that advantage clashes directly with work schedules, schools, and social routines. The body doesn't understand calendars or clocks. It only responds to patterns that were useful for thousands of generations. That's why you feel tired when you should be active, and awake when you should rest. None of this is accidental. Everything traces back to the same origin. A body designed to endure, not to fit in. To survive, not to adapt to offices, screens, and fixed schedules. And the more you try to force it without understanding it, the more resistance it offers. Because your body isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was programmed. Another of the clearest traces of Neanderthal DNA appears in the way your nervous system reacts. Some people feel pain with greater intensity than others. Small stimuli are annoying, and physical sensations are perceived in an amplified way. This is not emotional hypersensitivity. It is an ancient biological response. To survive in a hostile environment, Sensing danger before others was an advantage. A fast and reactive nervous system could make the difference between escaping or dying. The problem is that the same system is still active in a world where danger is no longer constant, but stress is. That same logic explains why some people develop addictions more easily. The Neanderthal brain responds intensely to dopamine. Substances like nicotine, sugar, or even certain digital behaviors activate the reward system disproportionately. What once served to reinforce survival behaviors now turns into dependency. It's no coincidence. There are genes associated with Neanderthal DNA that intensify these responses. The brain seeks strong stimuli because it was trained to react to extreme situations. In prehistory, that meant survival. Today, it means mental exhaustion. This type of nervous system lives in a permanent state of alert. It reacts quickly, but also tires quickly. It becomes overstimulated, saturated, and loses the ability to rest. That's why many people feel anxiety without a clear cause. The body is prepared for an attack, even if there is no visible enemy. What was once an advantage becomes a silent burden, not because the body is failing, but because the environment changed too fast, and the nervous system didn't have time to update itself. Understanding this doesn't eliminate the problem, but it changes how you see it. You aren't weak. You aren't unstable. You are the result of a biology that was designed to endure extreme conditions. Some of the most useful adaptations of the past have become silent obstacles in the present. A clear example is how the body regulates temperature. Many people with Neanderthal heritage tend to sweat less than others. In a cold world, this was an advantage. It conserved heat and prevented energy loss. But today, that same characteristic can become dangerous. The body doesn't dissipate heat as effectively. During exercise, in hot environments, or with poor ventilation, the risk of overheating increases. The organism reacts more slowly, as if still expecting sub-zero temperatures. This mismatch is also noticeable in how the body manages physical effort. It wasn't designed for long sedentary days followed by intense peaks of activity. It was made for short, explosive, unpredictable movements. When required to function outside that pattern, chronic fatigue and a feeling of constant wear and tear appear. None of this is perceived immediately. They are silent failures, small signals that accumulate over time. Unexplained pains, exhaustion for no apparent reason, a feeling that the body isn't responding as it should. The problem isn't the body. It's the context. We live in enclosed environments with rigid schedules, artificial temperatures, and repetitive routines. Everything is the opposite of what this organism was created to endure. Forcing the body to adapt without understanding its origin only generates more friction, more fatigue, more frustration. But when you understand that you are using an ancient system in a modern world, many pieces start to fit together. Another direct inheritance from Neanderthal DNA manifests in the way your body and mind react to the environment. The immune system, for example, was designed to attack quickly and forcefully. In a world full of unknown bacteria, open wounds, and extreme conditions, hesitating meant dying. The response had to be immediate. Today, that same system continues to work with the same aggressiveness. The results are allergies, chronic inflammation, and autoimmune diseases. The body attacks even when there is no real threat. It's like an army that doesn't know when to stop because it was trained not to. The mind follows a similar pattern. The Neanderthal brain lived in permanent alert. It analyzed risks, anticipated dangers, and expected the worst to survive. That trait was useful for thousands of years. But in the modern world, it transforms into constant anxiety. Many people live with a sense of unease that is hard to explain. There is no concrete cause, but the body is tense. The mind repeats negative scenarios. Rest is never complete. It's not psychological weakness. It's ancient programming that never turns off. Depression can also arise from this same origin. When the brain is designed to detect threats and they are no longer visible, energy turns inward. Mental fatigue, loss of motivation, and the feeling of always being one step behind appear. This permanent state of war takes a toll, not just emotionally, but physically. The body becomes inflamed, sleep becomes fragmented, the mind becomes saturated, and the more you try to ignore it, the stronger it gets. Understanding this mechanism doesn't justify the suffering, but it explains why it happens. You aren't failing. You are carrying a system that was created to survive, not to relax. The last trace of this ancient inheritance is also the most dangerous. The blood of many people with Neanderthal DNA tends to clot faster. In a wild environment, this characteristic saved lives. An open wound could mean death if the bleeding didn't stop in time. Clotting quickly was an absolute advantage. But in the modern world, that same advantage becomes a silent threat. Sedentary life, long hours sitting, and a lack of movement create the perfect scenario for that thick blood to form clots where it shouldn't. The risk of thrombosis, embolisms, or strokes increases without giving clear signals. This is where everything fits together. Constant hunger, insomnia, anxiety, inflammation, chronic fatigue. And now this internal risk are not isolated problems. They are pieces of the same system. A body designed to survive in extreme conditions that today moves in a completely different world. None of this means you are doomed. It also doesn't mean there is something wrong with you. It means your body is still obeying ancient rules in a new environment. And the friction between the two is what generates the discomfort. The real difference appears when you understand the origin. When you stop fighting against your body and start listening to it. When you understand that many of your reactions are not personal failures, but adaptations out of context. It's not about returning to the past or idealizing primitive life. It's about recognizing that not everything in the human body was designed for modern comfort, and that living better starts by respecting that reality. Because when you understand how your biology works, you regain something essential, the ability to adapt consciously, instead of suffering without knowing why. And in that moment, control returns to your hands.